Greetings, everyone. Today we're going to talk about front-end validation. So this could potentially save your company huge sums of money from disaster, you name it. This is going to be something that's written in JavaScript, straight up you built it yourself. Let's go ahead and get started with what we're dealing with. All right, so as you can see here, the action attribute is empty. There is no action because that is what the computers are looking for. If they get that action, that address, then they don't need this form and they can bypass your site. So do not fill this out until they have met the requirements here. Now, since I'm using a PHP relay, it's going to go and relay what I've sent and confirm it, and then it's going to send it back to me. So I'm going to send it where I came from, so it knows once it's received the email where to send me back to my site. Here we go with a field that is hidden. This class hide. Humans can't see this. Computers will see it and fill it out thinking it's something it needs to do. And lo and behold, if we find out that this has been filled out, we'll realize, oh, this is not a human. So let's not go ahead and validate this thing. Anyway, we've got max length. And these are all listed on all of our input fields. We've got a couple of functions called unhandle change and running process here. These are all things we're about to describe. And obviously we have a disabled button for our submit because nothing has been met. So let's get started on change, meaning as I start typing, we're going to go ahead and start seeing validation run. So we only need one character minimum in this field here. And so let's go ahead and max length is 50. So let's just go ahead and move on. As you can see, I have not met the criteria for an email. And so let's go ahead and do that. And then I'll move forward. All right. Now I have this basically stripped down. So anything that is not a number is going to be stripped out because we don't want anything else. And so basically I need at least a minimum in here. So I'll keep on typing and just letting you know that this is kind of where we've met our criteria. All right, and so as you can see, and we're looking at the form control, the submit button. It's still disabled, but let's type something. Okay, now it's enabled. And watch this. Now our action has an address. This is where we're going to send our email information. But on submit, we're going to do this running process. So let's go ahead and see what happens when I submit. The form looks good. Let's take me a few seconds to send the email. So I'm just going to let them know because it does take a few seconds to traditionally send out these things. And as you can see here, it's just telling what I sent and then it's sending me back. And that's that. So how do we do this? Let's go ahead and get this started. Okay, so as we type in something, we're going to be running a function that says onhandle change. Onhandle change is going to be running a function called validate every time. So onhandle change, when you basically hit this, which is on change, so anytime anything in this field changes, we're going to go run it. And it's going to check the name, the email, the phone, and the message fields. So this array gets passed to validate. Validate is where all the magic happens. So validate is going to take that array. This is any number of things here. And we're going to walk through. First off, we're going to see, hey, did they fill out that hidden field? Because if so, we're not even going to bother. And this is not a human. And if so, we're going to hit an error, and then we'll move on. If not, we're going to go through, iterate through the fields. Now, initially, we need to do a try catch because if there's nothing in the field, it could break. So what we do is we can give it an error that we can ultimately keep moving on. So the try catch is key in a lot of things. When you think the potential of you getting an error is pretty good, use this. And so if in case there is no value, we're going to let it know. And we're going to go ahead and give it the error field, or the error class, which is just basically a border around the input field that's red. Anyway, we're also going to find out, hey, what's the max character length of the attribute in this field? You know how we were basically saying max length here? This is asking that. And so now, okay, we know that if there's something in the field, because we're checking if the field's got anything at all, now we're seeing what the length is and if it meets that length. So I'm going to go through and ask it, what's the length of this? And if it's greater than 0, and is it less than the max length? If so, then we're good. If not, create an error class with that border around it. Now, here's the email request, the email field, We're going to find out this format here. It has to have a minimum of 2 characters, then an @ symbol, and then a minimum of 2 characters, a period, and then a minimum of 2 characters. And as you can see, that's where all this dials in. It's asking me, I'm putting it all to lowercase, so we know that's going to solve a lot of problems. So every email needs to be lowercase. And then we're going to move forward. And if it doesn't match this criteria, I'm going to go ahead and add an error, or box, and just this red box. Now here's the key. I also have this thing, if people keep emailing me and they won't leave me alone, I have a list up there, and if their name is anywhere in that list, if it's a number as opposed to -1, we will not email them. They cannot email me. It will fire off this global alert up here, which basically shows a message, and it shows, a level of the alert role. So a success would be green, a warning would be orange or yellow, and danger is red, so on and so forth. And it would basically send them a message saying, please don't email me. That's kind of one of those things where I've just gotten tired of someone, bothering me. Anyway, here's the message, and here's the alert warning, and there you go. That's what I did. So the phone. Now phone, I want to make sure it's a number. This can be done a lot of different ways. Now, let's be honest, this is a regex that will do it, and this is one with just letters only. So you can go that route. However, I chose to just basically clear out whatever's in there if it's not a number. So I'm asking it, hey, what is this a number? If not, just clear it out when the focus is moved on. And so that it will only collect the numbers, and I want to make sure that there's a certain, at least 10 and under 20, because sometimes people have country numbers as well in front of their area code. So I'm going to go ahead and make the option between 10 and 20 numbers need to be required. I'm going to do a trim so I don't have any blank spaces, because those will mess things up. Anything that's not a number will be ripped out, and that's pretty much it. And we also have another try catch here, like I said, if it's empty. So there you go. Now, here also is the, if I'm hitting submit, we have to have a disabled if true. If there's any errors, then I'm going to tell you that this is never going to work. We're going to have to a disabled attribute on our submit button until the errors go away. And we will not have an action, like I told you. We'll not have an address to where this thing goes until everything is met as well. That means that if there's any errors at all in the document, none of this gets done, and we return a false. Otherwise, we will enable our button so that they can hit it. And not only that, I'm going to give them the attribute action exactly where they're going to be able to go. So in my local vars, I've got a key and a value that basically describes what address I want this thing to go to. And that gets filled out if they don't have any errors and everything meets the criteria, just like we saw. So what I do is when I hit submit, I do the running process, and I go, if there's any errors, kind of a double check, we're going to tell you that we can't do this. I mean, typically we never really get to this because we've already stopped it. This is just an extra. And I can show you kind of a little bit of trick for the most part, any time this ever comes up. And we would basically say, I would say if there's any errors at all, here. Yeah. So I could put it here as well if I wanted to. And then it would just keep showing up over and over again. But I opted not to do that and just let them know that with the red that this is enough. Anyway, so basically this is kind of one of those fallback redundancies here. And then if they actually do have it, the running process, everything there, it says that there is no errors here. We get the alert success. It looks like your form's good. It's going to take a few seconds. We also have this, we went ahead and we're going to disable the submit button once this thing goes off, because we don't want to have them hitting it multiple times. They get their warm fuzzy saying this thing's good, give us a few seconds while we send it, so that the HTML gets, or the form gets a chance to send off. And then from here, this is something so they don't hurt themselves. So that's pretty much it. This is going to be something I'm going to fill out when they land here on their URL. And this is just a field, so when I send them to get their validation, I know how to get them back to where they began. So I found out where they are when they land here. And as you can see, right here, this will be sent as well. And then when I send all this off, so let's go through this again. All right, so we have this. We know where we're heading. This is the value that's going to be sent to us on handle change. Everything's ready. We're not disabled. We can send this. Let's see. Your form looks good. It takes a few seconds to send this off. As you can see, this thing's running. My PHP grabs it, tells me what's going on, and then it sends me right back to where I came from. And like I said, the reason it knows where I came from is because I told it where I came from, and so it knows. I hope you learned something here, and I hope you can find this as useful as possible. And there are many other ways to build plugins for validation, and there's tons of ways, excuse me, to do this. However, I don't like plugins because they're huge and bulky, and we're coming with the tools already at hand to do this, so it's not necessary to over-engineer this stuff. What you want to do is just protect and don't take for granted front-end validation. Thanks a lot.